Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new week of Road to TCG Worlds 2016. Now, before I get started, just wanted to remind you guys, I am using the Greninja lists that I used to win a regional championship down here in Mexico. I did go undefeated. Appearing right now on your screen should be a hyperlink to my regionals report on the bitcultures.com website. And now, after having said that, we can go and review the deck list really quickly, which is also available on the website and down below in the description. So, there is one change, and that's because I didn't realize I only had 2 of these Greninjas, of the new Shadow Stitching Greninjas in my collection. So, when I tried to trade for another one through the trading system, well, guess what? It's under maintenance. So it's impossible right now for me to get another Shadow Stitching Greninja. If this is available throughout the week and before I finish pre-recording the videos, I will definitely make the change. But I guess for now we have to settle for using a 2-2 line, okay? So bear with me on that. So for Froakie, pretty standard. Bubble is always the superior choice of Froakie. There's no other better Froakie out there right now, and Bubble has literally won me matches, so definitely very useful card, not only for evolving but also to potentially buy yourself a very crucial turn, because this is a very defensive and slow and methodical deck. Now, for Frogadiers, of course, Water Duplicates is an amazing attack, and this deck pretty much relies on getting it off on turn 1 or 2 in order to be able to set up multiple Greninjas and be able to really punish your opponents with your ability to place damage counters anywhere. Now, originally we would be using only 1 Greninja of these guys, but for now we are using 2. There's no point in limiting myself to only 3 Greninjas, so might as well use 2 for now. It's definitely a possibility. I did use a 2-2 split in the original videos, but I do think 3-1 is a superior choice. But Water Shuriken, definitely really useful. That extra 30 damage can definitely pile up. Mist Slash is nothing to write home about, really, but you never know when it might be useful. And the real star of the show, or one of the stars of the show, Shadow Stitching Greninja, preventing abilities from your opponent, preventing Shaman drops and things like that is really important. In the mirror match, preventing Octillery from either side is really important. And Moonlight Slash does a lot of damage for a single water energy, between 60 and 80, depending on if you decide to return the water energy. Really good attack, really useful, and probably the main one you use unless you're facing like Night March or a mirror match. And finally, 2 Greninja Break. This card is absolutely amazing. The extra HP is really nice for Greninja, and Giant Water Shuriken is just absolutely broken. So pairing with Greninja, we do have 2 Jirachi. This allows you to have a really good Night March matchup, especially because really nice holo animation. Usually Night March now doesn't run anything besides the Puzzle of Time in order to recover the double colorless energies. So every time you attack with Jirachi, you pretty much force them to have a Lysender. But if you can combine Jirachi with an Ace Trainer from our supporter lineup, then you pretty much get off free turns that allow you to get your Greninjas out, or even just get some free prizes with Greninja Break. And finally, we have a 2-2 line of Octillery. Remoraid doesn't really do anything important. Abyssal Hand is the main thing here because it's not only searchable through Dive Ball or any of the other Pokeballs we do run, but it's a constant throughout the game and really helps you recover from Ace Trainers, and late game it really allows you to get what you need without having to waste your supporter on a Sycamore or something like that, and allows you more freedom in order to Lysander or AZ or even Ace Trainer. So that covers the Pokemon. As far as energy, pretty basic. We are only running 8 basic water energy. You don't really need much more than that. Well, I do sometimes wish I had more water energy, but just because I feel like I am forced in the early game to make a choice between evolving through wallies and getting that, or trying to get the water duplicates, but I don't, because I don't have a water energy in my hand, and I'm sure that will come up throughout the week. And finally, we can move on to the trainer cards. For Dive Ball, searches for every Pokemon in our deck except Jirachi, so it's pretty much a free Pokemon for whatever you need. These are definitely really key to Greninja success. Excuse me. 1 energy retrieval. Actually, let me get my water bottle. 1 second. There we go. Because my throat is a bit dry. It's really dry out in Mexico, even though it has been raining the past couple of days. But today it's really dry. So, single energy retrieval. I think this is one of the most suspect cards. You could make an argument to drop this for another water energy, but as long as you don't draw it early enough, can potentially become 2 water energy. So it's definitely an okay trade-off, or it can sometimes be just 1 water energy. So really no difference there. 1 level ball. This is all you could fit. I wish I could run like 2 or 3 more of these, but for now this is the only amount I can actually fit. 1 Sacred Ash to recover the knocked out Pokemon. You don't run any Pokemon EX here, so your opponent is forced to go through 6 of your Pokemon in order to win the game, as long as you don't get benched out. But you can only run 4 of each Greninja card, so Sacred Ash allows you to get even more Greninjas out into play. 1 Megaphone, because you can prevent Spirit Links, you can remove Fighting Fury Belts, which essentially counts as doing damage because you lower their HP by a ton, and it can sometimes really make the maths of Greninja work out in your favor. 1 Super Rod, once again same purpose as Sacred Ash, but gives you a bit more versatility in order to recover energy for a 2 card trade-off, which I think is okay, running 1 of each. Sometimes late game you do need to recover energy from your discard pile. Fisherman and energy retrieval might not be enough. Now for Trainer's Mail, to get out all the previous trainers and the other potential supporters, it's just a really nice card to dig through your deck and try to draw things. 3 Ultra Ball, go with the 1 level ball kind of thing. This allow you to fetch Jirachi directly or any other Pokemon, especially Greninja BREAK. So these are definitely nice, and you could make an argument to just run 4 Ultra Ball instead of the level ball, but I don't think there's any drawback in going with the 3-1 split. It'll be really rare, unless it's like really late game, where you actually like cannot make use of a level ball and would really wish you had an Ultra Ball at that point. For Verse Seeker, to reuse all of the supporters that I will say in a little bit. Sorry about the exterior sounds. I hate living on the on the first floor. 2 Ace Trainers, because you almost always fall behind with this deck. It is a setup deck, and you're essentially using a stage 3 as your main attacker, or not as your main attacker, but it allows you to get at that extra power, if you will, from Greninja BREAK's ability in order for this deck to really be viable. Because if Greninja BREAK didn't exist, Greninjas are definitely really viable, but not game breaking enough without the break. So Ace Trainer will always get you a nice 6 cards and will deny your opponent from whatever he was holding in his hand and only give him 3 cards. It'll be really rare, especially in this format, where you will give your opponent more cards than he originally had. So there's almost never any reason not to use the Ace Trainer, as long as you're down in prices. 1 AC in order to recover our basic Pokemon, our Greninjas, potentially heal them, potentially get an extra Giant Water Shuriken off if you have the right amount of energy, and especially because we are not running any Pokemon EX, this can potentially make it even more difficult for your opponent to simply win the game, because he's only drawing 1 prize at a time instead of 2. And also you need this in order for a Lysander up into Octillery not to be completely detrimental to your whole strategy. One Fisherman. Sometimes you wish you had two, but early game it's really useless. So this is a really late game card, but definitely useful. One Fisherman can potentially turn into two giant water shurikens, a regular water shuriken that's 150 damage, and a Moonlight Slash. So a single Fisherman can potentially mean dealing 230 damage in a single turn, and you decide where to place that damage. So definitely a really nice card. And that's one of the main advantages in this deck. Not only are your attacks really cost effective, but you are also able to use all the energy you have in your deck really efficiently to transform it into damage, because that's essentially what you do with energy in every deck. Every energy becomes damage, so the more damage efficient you are with the energy, the better, and this deck excels at that. One Lysander, I really wish I had two, but I don't think I can fit two. You can make an argument to drop one Wallis, but I don't think so. Or it's not a valid argument for me, at least right now. Using Lysander is definitely really nice with this deck, but also very situational. Sometimes you're just so focused in setting up that buying yourself a turn through Lysander is not really something you can count on. But for the late game, it can definitely seal up games. For Sycamore, because it's the best card in the format, along with Shaymin EX. Two Wallis, these allow you to have a chance for a turn 1 water duplicates, but I find myself using this card more and more late game in order to secure a Greninja break quickly, or I even used it at a regional championship to get a turn 2 win, because my opponent only had one basic Pokemon out, so I was able to get a turn 2 Greninja, and I was able to win that way. And a single Muscle Band. This card is actually really important in the mirror match, and I would if you think there's going to be a ton of Greninja, running a high Muscle Band count is definitely important, because all you will do in a mirror match is use Shadow Stitching, Shadow Stitching, Shadow Stitching. But if your Shadow Stitches are 60 damage instead of 40 damage, you will 3-hit KO every single Greninja, even the break. Whereas if you use Shadow Stitching without the Muscle Band, you will be 5-hit KOing any Greninja break, and 4-hit KOing any regular Greninja. So this is a really, really important card for the mirror match. So that concludes the deck list. So let's move on and find our first couple of games, shall we? Let's hope we can begin the week with the right foot. There's Greninja. So I did not practice before with this deck before building it, because I already practiced a ton with it in real life, so didn't feel like I needed to. And yeah, I did use this deck at a second regional championship, which was the third regional championship in Mexico, and I missed the cut because I got dunked. And now it looks like we are up against a Night March deck, and I believe this TS Hunter we've faced before in the videos. So, Night March, I think, is a really good matchup, as long as you don't draw dead for like 5 turns in a row. If you're able to get something going, then you can definitely pull back the games, especially with 2 Jirachis and the Ace Trainers. But in this regional championship where I got dunked the last round through a Larios EX in game 3 and I didn't make the cut, the first 2 rounds I faced Night March, and the first game of the best of 3 I won so easily. So easily. And yeah, my hand is not anything to write home about. I won so easily that I was really confident, but then in the next 2 games I really didn't have a chance. Like, I just watched my opponents play, or rather in the first match I lost game 2, but I dragged it on. That was my fault for not conceding earlier, and I let my opponent Like I dragged on a game 2 where I never had a chance, so then I didn't have time enough on game 3 where I had a really good advantage and I was fully set up, but then time was called and so we tied. And then in round 2 I won the first game, and then I lost the other 2 because I just watched my opponent play. So my opponent already used a Birch, no fear of judge, and my opponent apparently does watch the videos. And I don't know, he asked me in Spanish, I responded in English, now he's asking in English, and I'm going to reply in Spanish. Okay, so our hand is not too bad because I do have the option to get out at potentially a turn 2 Frogadier, as long as I get an energy and an auxiliary. But because he already has a Lysander in the discard pile, so I'm actually going to find both Remorates, because I feel like I cannot, my only out to drawing something is auxiliary. Okay, there are, and I do have an Ultra Ball, there are 2 Frogadiers, but looks like the other, oh no, there's the Shadow Stitching Greninja, but I might have, well, I probably will have to discard a Frogadier and another, and the Greninja in order to get myself the water duplicates, and I will need to draw an energy as well. So I did go for the 2 Remorates to secure my chance at getting the 1 auxiliary out at least, but I'm not too confident. I mean, I know as long as I'm not too confident because I don't have a 3rd Greninja from Breakpoint. That's the only reason I don't feel too confident. If he uses Hex Maniac right now, which he won't obviously, just as I said that, he went for a Sycamore, trying to find the DCE, I'm guessing, and we actually see water energy, so I wonder if he uses Milotic, but you never want to attack with Milotic, right? I don't think. So he will get his turn to KO. That is perfectly fine by me. There is a X-Maniac and there is a Verseeker in the discard pile right now. He does have the Stadium, he does have the DCE, but there's nothing he can do to stop me from getting my potential turn 2 water duplicates. There's nothing he can do about that. Now I will only have access potentially to 2 Greninjas though, so that might be a problem. Let's see what I top deck. Okay, I top deck a useless Lysander, so I definitely want to get rid of the Lysander and the Frogadier, because, well, you could make an argument for the Greninja actually. I won't be able to play both. I need a water energy. That's what I really need. I guess if I draw a Froakie, then discarding the Greninja or the Frogadier is a bad idea. But I just need a water energy. If I get a water energy, I'll feel really confident right now. If I get a Sycamore, then won't really matter that I discarded the Frogadier instead. Okay, I do get the water energy, so that's an immediate drop there. If I get another ball, which I do, and a Sycamore, I can fetch myself a second auxiliary. So I am passing up on the ability to have secure draw in the form of Sycamore for the next turn, which might be a mistake. But what I can do is Lysander up the Shaman to force him to maybe have another DCE, potentially attach and retreat, maybe even avoid the KO with Frogadier. So yeah, I'm actually, just so that I can draw an extra card, I'm going to Lysander up the Shaman here. It's not like I'm going to KO it, I just want him to have to use something, because then maybe he won't be able to X-Maniac because he will have to find And wow, I get the perfect hand. Okay, maybe he will have to play a Sycamore instead to find an energy or a Floatstone or an escape rope to retreat instead of using Verse Seeker for a Hex Maniac and making sure I am not able to use Octillery. So there was definitely no harm in doing what I did, and I think I really might come out ahead. He actually does opt to Verse Seeker for the Hex Maniac. He has the switch in hand. That's perfectly fine by me. He does Hex Maniac, no Octilleries, but I do have an energy. I do have the Shadow Stitching Greninja, but I also have the Ace Trainer. So what I will be able to do here is get a KO on this Pumpkaboo. Although that will mean he can KO me back right away. But it's not the end of the world. Okay, and I top deck another another Ace Trainer. So there are also two things I can do here. I can potentially I don't know, should I evolve this Frogadier into this Greninja or should I wait? I think I'm going to wait. I'm just gonna Ace Trainer. I still do have my other Greninja, and yeah, I was hoping I get a Jirachi and I even get a Dive Ball and I even get an Energy Retrieval. So you could even, like, let me just see here. He has 6 Night Marchers in his discard pile, so unless he is able to discard one Greninja, or not one Greninja, one Night Marcher, sorry, he won't even be able to KO my active Greninja. So there are quite a few things that I could do here. I could take the KO, I could definitely take the KO, but that means he only needs an energy. But if I don't take the KO, out of his 3-card hand, he needs a way, and he already has 3 Battle Compressor in his discard pile. He needs a way to make sure to get a Night Marcher in the discard pile and without Shaman. So I'm going to play a bit risky, I guess, and I'm gonna go for the Shadow Stitching. I think it's an overall better play, and I do have my benched Greninja, and I can potentially KO both Pumpkaboos and leave him with nothing. So even though it's risky, because he can still Ultra Ball, he gets a Verse Seeker, so he will definitely either use Sycamore in order to get the KO or maybe use Hex Maniac as well. He actually opts for the Hex Maniac. So does he have a way to KO me right now? Does he have a way to get another Night Marcher in the discard pile? Because he cannot Shaman, and he will do 120 damage. So, okay, he has the Ultra Ball, and wow, he opts to discard 2 Puzzle of Time. And we know his other card is Hex Maniac, so he's not going to KO me. So I think that was definitely a big misplay. That was a really big misplay, because now I know what card he has in his hand. If he had used the Puzzle of Time, he could have gone for the Hex Maniac just as well as the Verse Seeker, and he could have gone for a Battle Compressor, and the immediate concession there means I'm pretty sure he didn't realize he didn't have enough Night Marchers, but I don't know. I mean, that was a really weird play. Like, maybe you would go for a Shaman to try and get out of that, but he had the Verse Seeker, he had the 2 Puzzle of Time, which is probably the most ideal 2 cards you can draw after after getting Ace Trainer down to 3. So my opponent definitely misplayed there. If you're watching, hello, TS Hunter. And yeah, I think you would have still had a lot better chance at winning that game as long as you hadn't made that play, because you could have gotten back a Battle Compressor in order to ensure you had enough Night Marchers in the discard pile, and you could have gotten back the Hex Maniac while keeping the Verse Seeker in order to use a Sycamore next turn. Maybe off of your prizes you drew that, so you could use Hex Maniac, something like that. So there were definitely a few more optimal plays that he could have made, after that Ace Trainer, and we were still definitely not out of it, but we were definitely going to have to find our Sacred Ash, because of the fact that that would have been the third Frogadier in the discard pile, so we would have only had access to a single Greninja. But we did top deck the break, so that would have meant at least we could have started doing another Shadow Stitching, placing damage counters, so it was not a lost cause. Now, looks like we are up against a fighting type deck with Crobat, so potentially Garchomp Crobat or Lucario Crobat. I don't think I've seen Lucario, or rather Garchomp Crobat, but I think it could potentially be viable. Garchomp does a lot of damage. It's a really okay card, and through Crobat you could maybe deal with Night March well enough. Not entirely sure, but it is Lucario Crobat. That makes sense. Hawlucha is definitely useless and potentially a free prize we could get off later on in the game. The Jirachi really limits his usage of strong energy, so we are not in any hurry right now. I don't think. We can definitely take our time here, and we also have the Ultra Ball and the Dive Ball, so he might actually pull off some nice plays with double or triple Golbat drops and a Sycamore or something like that. He actually plays a Silent Lab, which is perfectly fine, and opts to retreat directly into Lucario, which he had no need to do that. That was a really weird play, but hey. One Frogadier, one Froakie, one Frogadier, one Greninja, two Greninjas, two Frogadiers. Okay, so there's one Frogadier priced, which means we will most likely only have access to two Greninjas, but I think against that deck that should be more than enough. Now, through the Ultra Ball, because I do plan on using Sycamore this turn, I will get rid of this Greninja. It's not really a big deal. I will, however, find myself a second Froakie, because I definitely do want, I don't want him to somehow get rid of both Froakies in a single turn. I mean, he really can't right now, but I just want to make sure he definitely can't. With this Dive Ball, I will definitely go for the Remoraid, and that still leaves two perfectly open spots for our two Frogadiers. This kind of reveals that one of them is priced, but even after during the first search, my opponent would have definitely realized we didn't have a third Frogadier, because if you use water duplicates and there is enough bench space, there's absolutely no logical reason to not go for oh boy, to not go for the fourth Frogadier, you know? So I'm going to keep the Megaphone for now. I really hope he KOs Jirachi, so that's why I'm not even using it. I don't want him to remove the Muscle Band, because if it does KO, then it kind of saves me an energy, I guess. I do have the Ultra Ball to find myself the Frogadier. I also even have Octillery, so we are in a pretty good position. Really, really good position. He plays Karina, so that means one Froakie is definitely surviving, at least, no matter what. And actually both Froakies are going to survive. So he also went for another Berserker. He might not even have the double Golbat drop. He replaces his own Stadium, which is weird, considering he doesn't have space for another Shaman, and he should realize I don't run any X's. And even if you think I might run any X's, why take away your own Stadium when I could easily be running Rough Seas myself? So that was definitely, there was no need for him. He had already played a supporter. It's not like he needed to conserve that in his hand. And I actually top deck the Frogadier. So going to attach here, he didn't even deal any damage because he doesn't have an energy. He went directly for the Birch, so we know he's going to Birch next turn. With that knowledge, we could potentially, now he might not be able to deal 50 damage to my Frogadier. So I think now is the right time to use the Starling Megaphone, because that forces him to either draw a strong energy or another Muscle Band or a Golbat in order to KO Frogadier. And I'm definitely going to use Abyssal Hand here. Another Artillery, kind of useless. Another Energy, definitely useful. And there's no need for me to find a Pokemon right now. I want to keep the Froakie unevolved and in the bench for the time when I finally unlock the Frogadier out of my prizes. So there was no need for me to use the Ultra Ball to find myself another Frogadier. Now he has the Crobat, so now he can actually find himself a Golbat if he flips heads and gets it, of course, or just the energy to KO Frogadier. He flips tails, so that reduces the odds of him getting that. He actually does immediately get it, but now unless in his four card hand he has a Muscle Band and a strong energy, there's no way he KOs Frogadier. But he might only have a strong energy, so I'm going to promote Jirachi. I'm in no hurry to start damaging and setting up and things like that. He actually only has an energy, uses Missile Jab, and that's all he does. So definitely should have gone the Frogadier route. I could be putting more pressure, but I did top deck a Berserker, so I could definitely AC back the Jirachi. And I think that is definitely my play. There are 2 water energy in my discard pile, so with the Ultra Ball, I will discard the water and the Artillery. I will go find myself a Shadow Stitching Greninja, and I guess I will use Shadow Stitching because I want to prevent him from placing any damage through Crobat, any more damage rather through Crobat. I will use the Berserker for AC. That's why I kept the AC, because drawing your AC out of like an Abyssal Hand right now would be really difficult and really low odds, but if it's in your discard pile, then any Berserker becomes an AC. So I will bench it again, however, because that threatens all of his strong energy, and I will use Abyssal Hand. I even get another Greninja, but it's the wrong one, I guess. I'm not going to evolve just yet. My Frogadier is not threatened. Well, it is threatened by a Muscle Band, Lysander energy KO, but that's very unlikely. So just gonna go with or do I go Moonlight Slash? No, I'm gonna go Shadow Stitching. I don't want him dealing any more damage than or rather my Greninja taking any more damage than it needs to. If he has no other energy, then he might be stuck with just 4 cards in his hand. He has no room for Shaman, even though he is obviously not able to play it down. And all he can do seems like is attach and use Corkscrew Smash. No, he does have another Birch. So he should flip heads this time, 50-50. He doesn't, unfortunately. He actually plays a Super Scoop Up, and there's his heads. So he picks up Crobat. Hopefully he plays the Crobat immediately. No, he doesn't, very smartly. Just goes for the Corkscrew Smash, which is definitely a problem if we cannot KO through Shadow Stitching because of the Crobat drops. Now, if I Shadow Stitching, that's 40 more damage. That means I have to deal 100 more, or I can simply take the KO and take 50 back through Crobats, or what I can actually do, well, yeah, I need the Muscle Band in order to really win out here, but we only have run 1, so odds of getting it are not really too high. I will, however, yeah, either I KO Lucario by dealing 80, he'll be at 120. Can KO Lucario or KO Zubat? Which is more threatening? I think Lucario is definitely more threatening. So I'm gonna make sure I can KO Lucario. And I guess I will evolve this Greninja, because I think it will be useful. I can definitely start threatening potentially what else do I get back? I guess the energy. I can start threatening potentially the Zubat or even the Shaman. So I'm going to use Sycamore now. Yeah, I'm gonna use Sycamore. And then maybe I will use Octillery. I do get the Frogadier, which is great, and I even get a Froakie in order to replace that, and hopefully I will get the Frogadier out of my prices right now. I will use Water Shuriken onto the Zubat, because then with a single Water Energy, which I will have for sure in my hand, I will be able to KO the Golbat right there and then. Let me use the Trainer's Mail, see what else I get. The Lysander, that's definitely a really good card to have. Could have picked the Wallis, definitely. But now, let me see what I get off of my single Abyssal Hand card. And unfortunately, our Ace Trainers will now be useless. But it's not the end of the world. We will allow him to deal 50 damage to whoever he wants through Golbat and Crobat. But I'd rather that than... Yeah, and there's a Frogadier, perfect. And even a Verseeker, which is not ideal, because I was planning on Sycamoring next turn. But we do free up the Frogadier, so that's good. He actually opts to attach a strong energy, so that opens up a chance for Jirachi to buy ourselves a turn, which I don't think we will really need, but doesn't hurt. And he's going, unless he gets a muscle band right now, looks like he might be 10 short of the KO on the Greninja Break. He is 10 short. So the Megaphone, well, actually we got rid of the muscle band from the previous Lucario, not this one. So now we get to Giant Water Shuriken and pick ourselves another prize card. I'm actually tempted to just attack with Greninja Break, because it's definitely going to... Well, he probably has access to a Lysander, right? He only has one Verseeker and he hasn't played a Lysander, so you would imagine he can Lysander this turn. I'm going to evolve. And let's see here. I can find myself another Greninja Break, but I can't... What I can do? Well, I would need another energy to KO Shaman. Can KO Holucha here, and there's the victory. So yeah, I was just getting too fully set up for my opponent to deal with the onslaught of Greninja Breaks, and I even had the AC in order to recover the Greninja. I hadn't even considered that, so there was no way we were losing that match. Really nice to start off the week with a couple of wins. Definitely a breather from the previous week with Driven Break, where we definitely struggled a bit. And that will be all from me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please leave a like if you can for the video and for Greninja Break, and I will see you guys tomorrow in the Spanish video or on Wednesday for more Greninja Break action. Thank you guys, and bye bye.